Good morning and welcome to another episode of 5 Games, 5 Minutes from acornelectron.co.uk. Plunder is an early game, although I use that term loosely, in which you are the commander of a British galleon. The normal game gives you the mission to collect 4,000 gold pieces. You do this by sailing around a map, attacking the different types of ships you encounter, or by trading different commodities between the ports. This is one of those decision-making games where you start off with a strategy, then, if that doesn't work out, you slightly modify that strategy for the next go. The instructions aren't much help in this respect. They sort of contradict the game itself. For example, they tell you not to attack the warships before you've built up a good-sized army through skirmishes with the other types of ship. However, if you follow that advice and retreat from the warships, you get called a coward. Nice. A game with bipolar mood swings. Very inviting. The battles are completely random, and every time you attempt to board a Spanish ship, you have to hold your breath. Many times you're told your ship went out of control and that's game over. Islands and ports can be investigated in little sub-decisions, but these really just lessen the pace of an already tedious game. Not recommended. Impossible Mission reminds me of Winston Churchill's quotation about Russia. It's a riddle, wrapped in a mystery, inside an enigma. It's a multi-layered arcade adventure, in which you somersault through a number of rooms. You zip up and down on lift platforms, and try to avoid falling through holes on the floor. That's the simple explanation. You're searching for code pieces. To find them you have to search sofas, lamps, tape decks and bookcases. On many occasions you'll find nothing. On others, you'll discover passwords to reset the lifts in the room, or passwords to temporarily freeze the patrolling robots. Outside of the typical rooms, you'll find that they're all linked with passageways and elevators. You can also try and twist and turn all the code pieces that you've collected, so that they fit together into 3 computer punch cards. And yes, it's not just me, this is bloody difficult to achieve. This game was ahead of its time, visually impressive, technically stunning and amazingly complex. It's one of the best Acorn Electron games ever produced. Bumblebee is a playable, if very dated, overhead maze game. Its unique selling point is that the maze walls move if pushed. You have to collect all the dots and then leave the maze by moving to the tunnel marked out in the bottom left-hand corner. You have a few seconds to collect as many dots as you can before the first spider arrives. More spiders then arrive at regular intervals, making the maze a more hazardous place. You can lead spiders into fire barrels to neutralise them. And, well, that's it. There's precious little entertainment value because the level of difficulty increases far too slowly. This game is dull. There's also a curious arcade high score table, which also seems quite boring. Ordinarily I have a lot to say about a game and I struggle to fit it into a minute. With Bumblebee, there's hardly anything to say. Felix in the Factory was written by John Chater. It's a simple little ladders and levels caper. You need to collect an oil can and run with it to a generator at the bottom of the screen. There are a number of patrolling monsters to avoid and a conveyor belt of obstacles to leap, which means that the action in this game never drags. In fact, I might as well confess early that I love this game. Now you're constantly racing against the clock. If the generator runs out of oil because you can't get back to it in time, that's game over. However, if you can find the time, there are some nice inclusions in this game. The first is the pitchfork. If you can grab this, you can temporarily run around killing as many monsters as you can. There's also some bait, shaped like a sandbag. Pick this up, then drop it, and if a mouse scurries across the screen, it will eat it, and you'll get bonus points. The action is always quite frantic, and the only real frustration of Felix is that once you've got 5 patrolling monsters on scene, it's almost impossible to get to that oil can. The space to manoeuvre is just too cramped. Microball is one of the few pinball simulators for the Acorn Electron. Whilst it might not look much, it actually plays pretty well. All you need to do is to keep the ball in the playing area by jabbing at the flippers at the bottom of the screen. You learn quickly which position on the flipper will send the ball in which direction, and as you rack up more and more bonus points, you see the bonus indicator in the centre of the screen ticking up. Collecting all those points when you do fumble the ball almost makes up for the disappointment of losing it. That's not to say that the game couldn't be improved. The 2 to 4 player option is probably only there to emulate a real pinball table, and the small playing area means there's not really a lot to aim for. Mind you, some of the more classy pinball computer games take this to the other extreme, so it really is a fine balance. Microball was released by Alternative in 1986, and it was reasonably well received when it came out. It still feels pretty reasonable as a game now.